Imagine a garden full of the most beautiful flowers, each petal carrying a piece of wisdom and each stem a thread that ties you to the whole fabric of human experience. Picture yourself with scissors in hand, standing at the edge of this yard and ready to cut yourself off from its bright beauty. It may be tempting to cut ties with others and spend time alone, but what if I told you that by doing that, you could be setting in motion a dangerous spiral? You see, it can actually be very dangerous to cut people off. However, despite this, there is also a right way to do it. Join me as we look at the harsh spiritual dangers that come with cutting people off that are often overlooked by many individuals. The first danger: isolation from wisdom. In the journey of life, our paths are illuminated by the wisdom of those who walk beside us. This wisdom, a beacon in the shadows of our understanding, is not merely an accumulation of knowledge, but a living, breathing essence of shared experiences, stories, and insights. The act of cutting people off, often seen as a protective measure against pain or betrayal, inadvertently dims the light of this collective wisdom. At the heart of many spiritual traditions lies the concept of interconnectedness. The ancient philosophy of Ubuntu, a term from the Nguni languages of southern Africa, encapsulates this beautifully with its essence. I am because we are. It suggests that our individuality is deeply entwined with the community, that our very being is shaped and enriched by our relationships with others. To isolate oneself is to step away from the mirror that reflects our multitude of selves through the eyes of another. The parable of the long spoon serves as a vivid illustration of this interconnectedness and the consequences of our actions towards others, both in moments of harmony and in conflict. It tells of a man who was shown two scenes, one of hell and the other of heaven, both remarkably similar at first glance. In each place, people sat at a large table filled with delicious food. However, there was a catch. Their arms were strapped to long spoons that reached the table but made it impossible for them to feed themselves. In hell, the scene was one of misery and despair. The people were starving, filled with anger and frustration as they struggled futilely to bring food to their mouths with the unwieldy spoons. Their focus was solely on their own hunger, leading to a cycle of endless suffering and isolation, even as they sat side by side with others. Contrastingly, heaven presented a starkly different picture. Here too, people had the same long spoons attached to their arms. Yet the atmosphere was filled with joy, laughter, and satisfaction. The difference lay in their approach. Each person fed the one across the table from them. This simple act of cooperation and selflessness turned what was a curse into a blessing. They understood that by ensuring the well-being of others, they were in turn taken care of. This mutual support and compassion created a sense of unity and abundance, transforming the identical setting into a paradisiacal one. The parable of the long spoons teaches us a fundamental truth about human existence. Our well-being is deeply interconnected with how we treat others. In isolation, focused solely on our needs and struggles, we find ourselves in a hell of our making, trapped by the very spoons intended to feed us. However, by reaching out, by choosing to nourish those around us with kindness, understanding, and support, we not only help them, but also enrich our lives, creating a heaven on earth through our collective efforts. The second danger: loss of perspective. Perspective is the lens through which we view the world, a multifaceted prism crafted from our experiences, beliefs, and interactions. It shapes not only our understanding of the world around us, but also guides our actions and reactions. The richness of this perspective is constantly nurtured and expanded through our connections with others, each individual providing a unique hue to the spectrum of our understanding. When we choose to cut people off, we inadvertently narrow this spectrum, confining our view of the world to a monochrome landscape devoid of the vibrant colors provided by diverse viewpoints and experiences. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato, in his allegory of the cave, presents a profound exploration of perspective and the importance of exposing oneself to the broader realities of life. He imagines prisoners who have lived chained in a cave all their lives, facing a blank wall with shadows as their only reality. It's only when one prisoner is freed and exposed to the outside world that he understands the shadows on the wall do not make up the entirety of existence. This allegory underscores the danger of a limited perspective. Without exposure to a broader reality, one might live life shackled to the shadows of ignorance. In the context of relationships, the discussions we engage in, the stories we share, and even the conflicts we navigate are all opportunities for our perspective to broaden and deepen. By cutting off relationships, we not only lose the richness these threads contribute to our lives, but also risk becoming ensnared in our biases and prejudices. The echo chambers we create by surrounding ourselves with only like-minded individuals or by isolating ourselves entirely can reinforce our preconceptions, limiting our ability to grow and evolve. The spiritual dimension of perspective is particularly poignant in the teachings of compassion and empathy found across various religious traditions. The ability to see the world through another's eyes, to understand their joys and sorrows as if they were our own, is at the heart of spiritual maturity. The Buddhist concept of metta, or loving-kindness meditation, encourages practitioners to extend feelings of goodwill and understanding to all beings, not just those within their immediate circle. This practice acknowledges that our perspectives are enriched, not just by those we love and agree with, but also by those who challenge us and push us to expand our boundaries of understanding. Losing perspective means more than just a narrowing of our intellectual or emotional horizons. It signifies a spiritual dimming, a retreat into the confines of our own limited experiences. The world is a vast, intricate mosaic of thoughts, beliefs, and experiences, each piece essential to the completeness of the picture. To cut people off is to remove pieces of this mosaic, leaving us with an incomplete picture of the world and our place within it. The third danger, emotional stagnation. Emotional growth is a journey that never truly ends, a path winding through the landscapes of joy, sorrow, love, and loss. It is through navigating these varied terrains that our hearts learn resilience, our empathy deepens, and our capacity for love expands. Yet this growth requires not just internal reflection, but also external engagement. Among the undercurrents of our emotional landscape lies the concept of the shadow self, a term introduced by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. The shadow self embodies the parts of us we choose to reject or ignore, traits, desires, and emotions we deem unacceptable or uncomfortable. Jung believed that acknowledging and integrating our shadow is crucial for personal growth. When we avoid or cut off parts of ourselves, including people who might reflect these hidden aspects, we risk creating an inner divide, a schism in our emotional and psychological well-being. Cutting off people, especially those who challenge us or mirror back parts of our shadow, can be likened to isolating that stagnant pond. Just as the pond is deprived of the river's life-giving waters, we deprive ourselves of opportunities for emotional nourishment and growth. Relationships, even those that are challenging, serve as mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves we might not see. They provoke us, pushing us towards self-exploration and growth. By turning away from these reflections, we risk ignoring parts of our shadow self that need to be acknowledged and integrated for us to become whole. The danger of ignoring our shadow self and cutting off challenging relationships is twofold. First, it can lead to emotional stagnation, where growth is halted and life feels increasingly unsatisfactory. Second, the unacknowledged parts of ourselves can exert influence in unconscious ways, affecting our choices, reactions, and relationships in ways we might not understand. This can create cycles of negative behavior and relationships that are unfulfilling or destructive. Engagement with our shadow self, though daunting, offers a pathway to profound emotional growth. Recognizing the signs of emotional stagnation is the first step towards overcoming it. Feelings of numbness, apathy, or a sense of being stuck are often indicators that our emotional selves are not being nurtured by the dynamics of healthy relationships and positive interactions. To counteract this, we must be willing to step beyond the comfort zones of our solitude, to engage with others even when it's challenging, and to remain open to the transformative power of our emotional experiences. The fourth danger: loss of accountability. Accountability is the principle that holds us to our actions, decisions, and words, urging us to reflect, learn, and grow from our interactions. In a spiritual sense, accountability extends beyond mere responsibility for our actions. It encompasses a deep commitment to our journey of self-improvement and the impact of our lives on others. Accountability in relationships serves as a mirror, reflecting back to us the consequences of our actions and words, often prompting introspection and change. This feedback mechanism is vital for our development, as it challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, fostering humility and a willingness to evolve. The wisdom traditions of the world emphasize the importance of such reflection in our growth. For instance, in the Judaic tradition, the concept of teshuvah involves a process of self-assessment, apology, and change, a cycle that inherently requires engagement with others to complete. Moreover, the journey towards enlightenment, as depicted in many spiritual paths, is rarely depicted as a solitary venture. Even the most revered figures, who sought solitude for meditation and contemplation, returned to their communities to teach, share, and indeed to hold themselves accountable to the truths they had discovered. The Buddha, after his enlightenment, spent decades teaching others, engaging in dialogues that not only spread his insights but also constantly tested and refined his understanding. The dynamics of accountability are not limited to correcting wrongs or admitting faults. They are also about celebrating growth and recognizing the impact of positive change on ourselves and our communities. When we isolate ourselves, we miss out on the encouragement and support that can come from our relationships, the kind of support that bolsters our confidence to pursue our spiritual paths and uphold our commitments to betterment. The fifth danger: spiritual arrogance and entitlement. Spiritual growth is a journey of humility, where the unfolding of deeper understanding and connection with the divine, or the essence of existence, teaches us the value of every living being and the importance of our interconnectedness. However, when we isolate ourselves by cutting off from others, either from a sense of hurt or a belief in our spiritual superiority, we risk falling into the traps of spiritual arrogance and entitlement. These pitfalls not only hinder our own spiritual development, but also affect how we relate to the world around us. Spiritual arrogance emerges when we start to believe that our path or level of spiritual understanding is superior to others. This sense of superiority can create a barrier not only between ourselves and others, but also between us and the very essence of spiritual growth, which thrives on humility, openness, and the recognition that we are all students of life. When we look through the lens of arrogance, we close ourselves off to the wisdom and experiences of others, falsely believing that there is nothing more for us to learn. This mindset is counterproductive to the very nature of spiritual exploration, which is an infinite journey of learning and discovery. Entitlement, a close companion to arrogance, is the belief that we deserve certain treatments or outcomes based on our perceived spiritual status. This can lead to a lack of empathy and understanding, as we become more focused on what we believe the universe owes us, rather than on how we can contribute to the well-being of others and the world. Entitlement distances us from the core spiritual principles of gratitude, service, and compassion, replacing them with a transactional approach to spirituality, where blessings and enlightenment are seen as rewards rather than gifts of grace. In Christianity, the teachings of Jesus Christ emphasize humility, compassion, and love for one another as central tenets. Yet, despite these foundational teachings, individuals can still fall prey to spiritual arrogance, especially when they start to believe their faith or their understanding of it makes them inherently better or more favored by God than others. This misconception goes against the very essence of Christian doctrine, which teaches that all are equal before God and that salvation and grace are freely given, not earned by deeds or knowledge. The dangers of spiritual arrogance and entitlement are well illustrated in many spiritual teachings and parables. For example, in the Christian tradition, the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector, Luke chapter 18 verses 9 through 14, warns against the arrogance of believing oneself to be more righteous than others. The Pharisee, confident in his own righteousness, looks down on the tax collector, yet it is the tax collector, humble and aware of his own failings, who is justified before God. This parable teaches the importance of humility and the dangers of self-righteousness in the spiritual journey. In combating spiritual arrogance and entitlement, the practice of self-reflection is vital. This involves regularly examining our thoughts, actions, and motivations, asking ourselves whether we are truly living in alignment with the principles of humility, compassion, and openness to learning. Engaging in dialogues with others, especially those with different perspectives, can also provide valuable opportunities for growth and learning, helping to dissolve the barriers of arrogance and entitlement. The sixth danger, emotional amplifier. Emotions are the colors of our inner landscape, painting the canvas of our experiences with hues of joy, sorrow, love, and fear. They serve as guides, signaling our desires, fears, and needs, and amplifying the intensity of our interactions with the world. However, when we cut people off from our lives, we unwittingly turn emotions into powerful amplifiers, magnifying both the positive and negative aspects of our inner world. In the absence of external connections, our emotions can become echo chambers, bouncing off the walls of our solitude and reverberating with increasing intensity. Positive emotions such as love and joy, when experienced in isolation, may take on a heightened significance, becoming the sole source of fulfillment in our lives. While this may initially seem desirable, it can lead to an unhealthy dependency on external validation for our emotional well-being, hindering our ability to find fulfillment from within. Conversely, negative emotions such as anger, resentment, and loneliness can become amplified in the absence of external connections. Without the feedback and perspective provided by others, these emotions can spiral out of control, consuming our inner landscape with their intensity. Anger, left unchecked and unchallenged, can fester into bitterness and resentment, poisoning our relationships and our own sense of peace. Loneliness, when left unaddressed, can deepen into despair, isolating us further from the possibility of connection and support. One medieval philosopher who delved into the nature of emotions and their impact on the human condition was Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas, a towering figure in the history of Western thought, approached emotions, or passions as he often referred to them, from a perspective deeply rooted in Christian theology and Aristotelian philosophy. He argued that emotions are an integral part of human nature, bridging the body and the soul, and playing a crucial role in our moral and spiritual lives. Aquinas believed that emotions themselves are neither good nor bad. Rather, it is how we respond to these emotions that determines their moral value. He saw emotions as natural responses to the perception of good or evil, with the capacity to influence our reason and will. For Aquinas, the key to navigating the landscape of our emotions lies in the virtue of temperance. Temperance, in his view, is the moderation of our desires and emotions, guiding them according to reason and virtue. In this light, Aquinas' teachings offer a way to understand the amplification of emotions in solitude. He would likely argue that solitude can serve as a double-edged sword. It can be a fertile ground for personal growth and self-reflection, allowing us to cultivate virtues and deepen our understanding of ourselves and our emotions. However, without the tempering influence of reason and virtue, Solitude can also lead to the unchecked growth of negative emotions, pulling us away from the equilibrium that fosters true happiness and fulfillment. The seventh danger: loss of purpose. Purpose is the guiding star that illuminates our journey through life, providing direction, meaning, and fulfillment to our actions and endeavors. It is the fuel that drives us forward, propelling us towards our goals and aspirations and giving shape to our existence. However, when we cut people off from our lives, we risk losing sight of this purpose, leaving us adrift in a sea of uncertainty and aimlessness. You see, human beings are inherently social creatures, wired for connection and belonging. Our relationships with others play a vital role in shaping our sense of purpose, providing us with opportunities for collaboration, contribution, and shared meaning. Whether through our roles as parents, friends, colleagues, or members of a community, our interactions with others help to ground us in a sense of belonging and purpose that extends beyond the confines of our individual selves. The loss of purpose that accompanies cutting people off can be profound, leaving us feeling disconnected and isolated from the world around us. Without the anchor of meaningful relationships to ground us, we may struggle to find direction in our lives, wandering aimlessly from one day to the next without a clear sense of purpose or direction. This lack of purpose can lead to feelings of emptiness, disillusionment, and despair, robbing us of the joy and fulfillment that comes from living a purpose-driven life. In addressing this profound sense of loss and aimlessness, the ideas of Viktor Frankl, a notable 20th century Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, and Holocaust survivor, become particularly relevant. Frankl, the founder of logotherapy, a form of existential analysis, posited that the primary motivation of an individual is the discovery and pursuit of what he or she finds meaningful. In his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl suggests that even in the most dehumanizing and horrendous conditions, a person can find a purpose in life and, more importantly, should strive to find meaning in suffering. Frankl's philosophy is built on the belief that our quest for purpose is not just a luxury or a byproduct of a well-ordered life, but a fundamental aspect of human existence. He argues that when individuals are stripped of external freedoms and material comforts, they are left with the ultimate freedom, the ability to choose their attitude towards their circumstances. This choice becomes a source of purpose and meaning, as individuals can decide to approach their suffering with dignity, grace, and a sense of purpose, thus reclaiming their agency and humanity. In the context of losing connections and feeling a sense of purposelessness, Frankl's insights offer a beacon of hope. He encourages us to look beyond our immediate circumstances and find meaning in our experiences, no matter how challenging they may be. This could involve dedicating ourselves to a cause, embracing love for others, or finding solace in the beauty of art or nature. By doing so, we reconnect with the broader tapestry of life, finding our place within it and, consequently, our purpose. Despite the challenges associated with isolation and the loss of purpose, it's important to recognize that periods of temporary isolation can also offer unique benefits, serving as a valuable tool for personal growth, self-reflection, and rejuvenation. This perspective doesn't contradict the insights of philosophers like Viktor Frankl, but rather complements them by acknowledging that solitude, when chosen and approached with intention, can be a catalyst for discovering deeper layers of meaning and purpose in our lives. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.